Ian Shearer's death last year didn't have to be excruciating. He qualified for and chose an assisted death, but the public hospital he was dying at refused to honor that request. He was at St. Paul's, which is a religious hospital, and it refused to even consider offering or talking to its patients about assisted dying. So he was forced with his family to make this harrowing journey to another hospital, Vancouver General, where his wish and his rights could be fulfilled. I got involved in secular and atheist activism because of injustice like this that is brought about by religious privilege. When I was a student in undergrad, there were clubs for Catholics, there were clubs for Muslims, there were clubs for Protestants, and lots of different clubs for evangelical Christians, but there was no community for those of us who didn't believe in a God or in anything above. And so I started an atheist group there, and we had a lot of success. And as I was involved in that club, I started to learn about the philosophy of secular humanism, about a worldview based on individual rights and a sort of social responsibility to make the world a better place. So when I moved here to BC and got involved in the BC Humanist Association, I was privileged to be able to push back against this religious worldview and to start standing up for human rights and for secularism. Last year we managed to do an accounting, and we figured out that not just St. Paul's, but there's about $1 billion of tax money in BC that goes to religious hospitals that refuse these kind of services. We also figured out there's over $300 million that goes to independent schools, most of which are faith-based, and those schools will turn away students and faculty based on those who don't adhere to the correct dogma. We've challenged these kind of things. In the public school system, we've learned that a lot of the more rural and remote districts were still giving Gideon Bibles to grade 5s, just assuming everyone was Christian. We pushed back against that, and it's ended in Abbotsford and in Chilliwack, and most recently Caribou-Chilton. And as far as we know, it's done in the province because of our work. So those are the kinds of things we've taken on. And we represent the 7 in 10 British Columbians by our own polling who don't practice a religion or faith. Yet this non-religious majority has no real organized voice in the legislature or in policy. Politicians love to speak to organized religious groups because they're well organized and well funded, but they represent a sort of decreasing view, and they're a view that should be represented, but they're not the only one. So we're standing up to try to talk about human rights from a secular perspective, to talk about humanism, to talk about human rights. So what I need you to do is to help me talk about that. I need you to help me research these issues, especially with our organization, so we can make these cases stronger. I need people to speak to their legislators personally to say, look, I'm not religious and I disagree with my money going to support indoctrination based on religion. In this age of authoritarianism, of alternative facts, of racism and misogyny, we need the values of humanism, the reason and compassion and hope more than ever. We need a new wave of political humanism. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian.